Hi everyone and welcome. I am super excited for today's video. When I started this YouTube channel, I never thought that this would be a type of video that I would make. It isn't really the type of video that I watch a lot of, but one of my favorite YouTubers, probably my favorite YouTuber for like this type of content is Rachel Catherine. You may or may not know her. I will try to remember to link her anyway, just so you can go check her out because she is just the best, and I love just about anything that she posts. So she posts a lot of book content, which I really like to watch. We have some of the similar tastes and some not, but I still really like to watch her book videos. And she really has been my biggest inspiration for this YouTube channel. One of my big inspirations, but I never really saw myself as somebody that would make a book video on YouTube. I've never really been a super avid reader. I've definitely read on and off throughout my life. It certainly has never been something where, I don't know, it doesn't feel like a huge personality trait for me, and so the thought of making book videos on YouTube almost felt kind of like imposter syndrome or something like that. And it just didn't really feel like I was reading enough where I would have content, you know, like to make a video about it. However, here we are, because I have been reading so much lately. So I just want to talk about the books that I have been reading, kind of just quickly talk about them and then do some like fun little stats. So the way that I decided to break this up is into thirds. Yeah, because I did January to April, including April, all the way through the end. So this will be everything that I've read from January to April of 2023, and then I'll have, you know, the next 2/3 after that. And I decided to do it like this because in January I started the 5th book in the Song of Ice and Fire series, which is, if you're not familiar with the books, but you're probably familiar with the show, it's a Game of Thrones on HBO. And the 5th is a huge book. The copy that I have is 1051 pages, and that's even like small print on small pages. There are some copies that are like even more pages than that, just because of the way it's printed, of course, but it's a big book regardless. So that took me a little while to read because, like I said, I am still kind of building my habits and my strength, I guess, as a reader. So especially a book like that, it's complex, and at times it's a little bit heavy. So sometimes I could fly through it, and then other times it would take me a little bit longer to get through that book. And I believe it did take me longer than January, maybe like just over a month, like just beyond January. And because of that, it was making it difficult for me to like do my stats. So I was like, oh, I'll just do it like in chunks of the year rather than per month, because if I just did it for January, it would have been like, oh, I just read one book, and that wouldn't have been, I don't know. It was just the way that it made sense for me to do it. So that is the book that I read first. I do have it, and this poor book got like beat up. It is we just have a paperback set because if you are familiar with the books, there are still 2 more that are supposed to be coming out, and it's just been taking a very long time. So my husband and I, this is like my husband's favorite books ever. We're gonna just buy like a nice hardback set when all of them come out. So in the meantime, our paperback copies have taken quite the beating. But yeah, I'm not really going to talk about the books because I don't want to worry about spoilers or anything like that. But and this is also the 5th book of a series. So, and again, this is just not what I'm going to talk about really at all, because you're probably kind of familiar with the story, and if you're not, you probably wouldn't care really. But if you do like fantasy and you're looking for like this, I think is probably could be called the best fantasy of all time, because it is just so complex and layered, and the world building is just absolutely insane. Definitely a lot of trigger warnings, and like it's this pretty mature book, which you probably know, but in case you didn't, it's very mature. So the way that I decided to do my stats, because what kind of bothers me sometimes about pages, like saying I read this many pages or whatever, is that every copy is different. So I was like, I don't know if that's always the most accurate reflection of what you read when you say page number. So when I was trying to come up with how I wanted to do my stats for just like my journal or this video to share with everyone, I was like, maybe word count would make more sense, because I don't know, it's like that's how much you actually read, and the word count wouldn't change no matter how it was printed. However, that proved to be more difficult to find like correct information than I thought it would be. I saw a lot of different word counts for each book. So I went with one site that had all of the books on it, so I could at least be consistent in that way. And then I decided for the page numbers, I would just use the page numbers that are in the copies that I have, because that's what I actually read, if that makes sense. So this book, the copy that I have, has 1,051 pages in it, and based on what I could find online, it has, oh, okay, I actually erased the individual book count. And I just have the total for what I read for this quarter, but this one I think it had something like close to like 350,000 words in it. So what I read after that, I really wanted a book that I could pick up, read it pretty quickly, because I have been reading this Song of Ice and Fire series for years. Like, that's the only thing that I've really been in. So I wanted, obviously, to be out of that world. Well, I didn't really have a choice because there isn't anything else. Well, there's other books that are within the same world but not a part of that. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that, but I wanted a break from the world. I wanted something that I could read quickly that wasn't like 5,000 pages long. And something that would just be like an easy read, something for me to turn the pages kind of quickly. And like I said, the Song of Ice and Fire series is really complex, so something that I could read a little bit more easily. So the book that I read next was actually a recommendation from Rachel Catherine, and I think the book The Silent Patient is maybe a more popular one from this author, but I read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, I believe is his last name. And this one's kind of like, well, I shouldn't say kind of, it is like murder mystery, which I actually quite enjoy, but it was perfect for what I needed. Like, it was kind of like short, well, not kind of, it was pretty short. This one is 333 pages, so, I mean, much shorter than what I had been reading, and it was just pretty easy to read, and it wasn't, I don't think it's like some breathtaking piece of literature, but I really enjoyed it, and like I said, it was perfect for what I needed it to be after reading such a big book before that. So like I said, this one had 333 pages, and I can't remember now, I think it had something like 100,000 words, somewhere around there. So that was the second book that I read. The third book that I read was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, which of course there's the show, which I actually have not read, watched, and I actually just picked this up at the thrift store and decided to read it, even though I honestly, I kind of had an idea of what the show was about, but I had never watched the show and I had never read anything about the book, so I didn't really know what to expect as far as what the story was going to be. Like I said, I had a general idea of, I don't know, a very broad sense of the situation, but I actually loved this. Like, it was really interesting, and I don't think it's as maybe political, or I think anyone could read this book. I don't think you have to be a woman to read this book. I don't think you have to be a feminist to read this book. It is so interesting and well written beyond any of that stuff, that I would actually recommend it. There's maybe some trigger warnings a little bit, but it's nothing, it's not too bad. But the writing style I thought was really, really cool. I haven't read anything that was quite like this in terms of just the writing style. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And this one, the copy that I have, is 295 pages, and I think it had something like 90,000 words in it. And then the fourth book, the last book that I read in this third of the year, January to April, is How to Overcome Your Childhood. So this is just a nonfiction kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't call it self-help, but it's just kind of talking about how our experiences as a child and from our childhood come into our adult life, and how that kind of in ways explains some of the ways that we think and feel and act in our adult lives. This was a gift from my little brother for my wedding, so I had not gotten around to reading it, but it was one of my goals to read it this year, so I did read this. And I did really enjoy it. Do I think it's a book that you need to go out and pick up and read right now that's going to change your life? Not necessarily, and I will say that I've had some experience with types of therapy, and I've taken psychology classes. It's something that I'm interested in, so I've read a lot of stuff that is very similar to this. So I would say that if you also have, this is not going to really be anything really novel. Like, you probably will have read or know about a lot of the ideas in this book. However, I still really enjoyed it, and it's a pretty short read. It's only 118 pages, so I got through this pretty quickly. It didn't take me very long, and it was like a really good refresher. And I think if this is something you're interested and you have never really read much about it and you're not sure, this would be a really good starting point, because the thing that I guess I didn't like about it is that it didn't go super far into depth on any one particular topic. It was a very, like, one topic would only be a couple pages and then it would go on to the next topic. So it was much more of like an overview. So that I didn't really care for, but at the same time, I don't think that's the book it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be a super in-depth thing. I think it is supposed to be much more of a starting point or a general overview. So if that's something you're interested in, I would recommend it, because like I said, it's an easy, quick read. And so this one, like I said, was 118 pages and something like 30,000 words. So not very big. So totaling that all up, I read 4 books, 1,797 pages, and about 568,578 words. And my little reading spread is not, I like it. It's something that I had started when I was kind of getting into journaling in this type of spread, so I think I've gotten better now, and I think I would do it better if I were to do it now, but I still like it. And I'm actually pretty happy with how I've been doing so far with my goals. One of them was to finish the book, the 5th book, A Dance with Dragons, because I had been in that series for so long, so I'm really happy that I finished that. I wanted specifically to read this, which I have done, and I have 3 audiobooks that I had started last year that I just have been kind of taking a little while to get through, and I really wanted to finish them. Basically what would happen is I would start one and then I would get a new one that I was excited about, and I would like listen to all of that one and then not go back to, or like it would just take me a little while to get back to the other one. So I have 3 that I really wanted to finish this year, and I have finished one of them, which I did finish in this January to April time frame. I just wasn't really going to talk about it in this video because I didn't read it, I listened to it, but it was The Gift of Fear by Gavin D. Becker, I believe is the author, and I so highly recommend that. I listened to it, and I enjoyed listening to it. That type of thing I like to listen to a little bit more, I think, than read it. Just a personal preference, but I'm sure the book, reading it would be just as good, so definitely recommend that one. And so I was happy that, like I said, that was one of my goals, and I finished that. And then I just have, like, I guess what I've learned to come to learn that it's called like a physical TBR, to be read, or just like my bookshelf. I have books on my bookshelf that I have been sitting there for years that I haven't read. So one of my goals was just to read a book off the bookshelf, which I also did do. So now I want to talk about what I want, just like what my goals going into the next third of the year will be. So May, June, July, and August. June to August, what I'll be doing upcoming in those months. I have also those here. I am going to read this. This is all of the books in one. This is the Chronicles of Narnia series, and I picked up this at the thrift store. And like I said, every book is in here. Oh, that's not the right page. There we go. All of the books are in this like one physical book, and I was going to actually start this like last month, but ultimately didn't think I'd be able to finish it before this like reading period ran up, which maybe sounds silly because I'm just keeping track of these stats for myself. But it worked out okay because I ended up reading other books that I wanted to, and I think now this will be a really good time to start this one. So I actually did start it today. Today is May 1st, so that's why you see this in here. But yeah, I'm going to read this one. My other goal, one book that I've been wanting to read for a while is Eat That Frog. It's just kind of been on my list and I haven't gotten around to it, so this is on my TBR for this next reading period. And then this is a book that I don't know that I will necessarily prioritize this book, but I just saw it and loved this cover so much, and it wasn't that expensive, so I just got it, which is not something I've ever done before. But I already love it just sitting on the shelf. It looks really, really pretty. And I actually stumbled upon this book when I was looking at another book that Rachel, from Rachel Catherine, had recommended, which was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, I believe. And that's another book that just like the cover is so pretty, so I really just want to go out and buy it. And she really liked it too. However, there is a second book coming out in that series, and so I thought before I go out and buy them, I'll just buy it and read it on Kindle, because it was actually like a couple of dollars or something on Kindle. It was really cheap. So I was like, before I buy the physical copy and waste the paper and all of that, I'll try and see if I like it first. So I'm going to also try and focus on that book, as well as some other Kindle books coming up this reading period, because I have quite a few Kindle books that I've just been getting in, like, you know, then they go into my library in here, but I kind of forget about them because I don't know, I just don't see them obviously the same way. So then I open this up and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have all these Kindle books. So I'm going to try to focus on reading some more Kindle books this period as well. And since I don't have one book that is so massive, I'm really excited to see how many books I can get through. But that is all that I have for this video. I hope that maybe you liked this type of video. I know I always say that every video is different from the type of content that we normally do, but we kind of do everything on this channel, so there's no pattern, rhyme, or reason really. But if you do like book content or book videos, maybe let me know, because I can try to do more. There are certainly a lot of reading challenges that I see on YouTube that maybe could be fun. I just don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I'm ready to do a 24-hour readathon or anything like that. But I will see you all in the next video very soon. Bye!